Hello and welcome to episode 44 of the Swim Run Show podcast. I'm Mike, and this week's guest we have our Englishman in Stockholm. Yes, it's Tom Jenkinson, a coach with Envol Coaching, of course, over there, and he's a swim runner, and he's got some big races this year. So yeah, we'll dive into that chat very soon. Great chat. We reference a couple of episodes. Nicholas Ramirez, of course, founder of Envol. That was back in episode 9. And Mark Turner, founder of UltraSwim 33.3. That was episode 8, I believe. So there we go. Check those out. We have been sent some great merch and nutrition from Precision Fuel and Hydration. Supporting Team GB in One Water Race. Thanks, guys. And also Ocean Lube have sent us some ocean-friendly lubrication. So yeah, we'll be using that. And check the discount for the 10% off Ocean Lube for you guys, podcast listeners. Go to weswimrun.org/discount, and there's a few discounts there. Check them out. We're going back to Morocco. A fast itinerary, 4 times 4,000 meter peaks is the objective, as always, including the highest mountain in North Africa, Topkal, of course. Great training, well, great life experience, but also a great training kind of long weekend for Rockman and Engadin and anything with height gain in. That's that. Looking forward to that one. What else is happening? The sound. I didn't have my mic, my normal mic, so sounds a bit different, but I think it's okay. It's okay. And yeah, let's just crack on. Here we go. Over to Stockholm. Okay, so Tom Jenkinson we have here from, well, there's a lot of hats that Tom wears. He's an Envol coach, a swim run athlete, and he does all sorts of writing on the sport of a lot of running and a lot of swimming and a lot of swim running. Tom, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Mike.
How are you?
I'm good. It's just the sun's shining, blue skies. Stockholm's looking good.
Oh.
As you can probably tell, I'm not a Swede from the start, but I've lived exactly half of my life in Stockholm. So I moved here when I was 27.
Oh wow, cool. So right, so would that be before the first Ertelo World Champs?
Oh yeah, long before. Well, actually, who knows? That was 97, and the one was the first. The bet was 2000. Yeah, and the bet was 2002, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
but 2006. So yeah, early days, and I mean. And the World Series didn't come online till 2015, right? So the sports, I was here long before the sport, but
I wasn't sure of your age, Tom. So
thanks. Yeah, it's a good job. I don't know whether you're putting our video on it, but I've got more of a radio face, so that's good.
Good stuff. So okay, so you moved to Sweden. Obviously, nothing to do with swim run back then, and you got into it. I guess. How did you get into swim run?
Well, I moved because my first kid was on the way, and the wife's Swedish girlfriend at the time. So that's why that was the trigger that made me pack my car and kind of move here. And then I met her through skiing, really. So I'd met her in a ski lift in France, and skiing was a big part of our lives. And I started coaching when the kids were growing up as kind of young kids and teenagers, and so spent a lot of my time around the ski circuit and kind of coaching these groups of kids, alpine skiing. And then when they kind of stopped, it's a tough sport. It takes a lot to get to the top of it. So a lot of people drop out. They dropped out, I don't know, early teens, and I had lots of time. I was just coming up to, I think I was 40. So I don't know whether that's the kind of crisis or something that triggered it, right? But I'd always had a bit of a dream around, I think it certainly wasn't swim run at the time. It was more kind of triathlon, but multi-sport in general. I wanted to learn to swim. Thought I could probably learn to run and bike a little bit better, right? And so it just kind of drew me into it. I had a lot of time over, and when I stopped doing the coaching stuff and the skiing, and kind of got pulled into multi-sport, and the first thing I did was kind of run, and off I went, and kind of, I think my first year I started training, and it was also kind of, in terms of synchronicities, it was 2010, right? So Born to Run had come out in 2009. So that whole kind of natural running barefoot, and I was a hideous runner. I was a heel striker, kind of overstrider. I had trouble running. I was doing some recreational half marathons, and it was taking me. I was struggling to get under 2 hours. And then I read Born to Run and read Pose Running, and kind of literally changed my technique to kind of midfoot forefront running, and kind of just got into kind of running technique in general. And overnight, or not overnight, but within a few months, basically ran a Boston qualifying marathon. So it was kind of, that was the start. I thought, oh, well, if technique can be applied to running in this way, and it was almost like releasing the handbrake, then let's see what it does to the other sports. So got into biking, and I mean, I don't want to upset the bikers, but there's not much technique, is it? You just stamp on the pedals. So that was kind of fair enough. You just put more time in, got better at that. And then, all right, next one, swimming. A friend of mine had the kids at a local swim club. So I joined. The parents kind of borrowed a lane on a Sunday, and we just kind of started swimming, and thought, oh, how hard can it be? It was really hard, right? I mean, it's such a technical sport. You can't just throw kind of fitness at it or strength and hope that it works out. And I really got kind of obsessed with the technical side of swimming, and how hard it was, and how hard it was for adults to learn. And so I got into kind of this started talking to the Swim Smooth guys, Paul Newsom over in Australia. He's also a Yorkshireman, kind of, that's left. So talking to them, so I got into the kind of coaching side of swimming, and ended up growing this swim club called Bromma Swim Club, Bromma Simsällskap in West Stockholm. And now we're kind of 50 odd active swimmers. And at the start, it was, I don't know, 10% proper swimmers and 50-60% triathletes. Now it's 10% proper swimmers and 80% swim runners. So swim running's really taken over in terms of the swim focus. But it was just, that was the way. That was back in 2010, I'd say, was my first year properly getting into this kind of chronic cardio training types. And then 2011, there was a race called the Amphibiemannen, so the Amphibiman, which was a race at some islands in Stockholm, much smaller than Ötillö, because obviously Ötillö was still going at that time, but the kind of more accessible races, there were few and far between. But me and a friend from the kind of triathlete side of things, we signed up for that, and it was a wonderful adventure. I mean, it was just kind of cool to get out there, boat out to the start, and everything that around swim run, and we just loved it. And then so a regular swim run was just part of my normal yearly events, but it wasn't like, I wasn't kind of focusing on swim run per se, but that kind of grew. And I don't know if you want to jump in and ask me some questions, but like in 2019, then the Ötillö pursuit started. We can talk about that a bit later.
Cool. So yeah, rewinding that. So you're a coach. So you're a coaching background in skiing,
Yeah.
and then got into the multi-sport. So there's loads of stuff. I need to mention your blog, because that, I've read it. I read some of the articles, and you can tell you know what you're talking about. So that, I'm guessing, from your skiing days.
Yeah, it's kind of, I mean, most of these sports, aside from cycling, movement skills, right? Even running has a lot more skill than I think people like to believe. So, and whether it's alpine skiing or any sport, I think if you can kind of pull apart technique and do video analysis and look at how things are happening and why they're happening, you can apply that kind of framework to other sports, right? So I was just kind of, I guess with that background, I was certainly interested in the kind of why am I not faster kind of question, and why is it hard to, especially adults, to learn swimming, right? So that was true. But and then you was talking about my kind of newsletter blog. It started really with the Ötillö, when me and my, it was then 19-year-old son decided to try and qualify, and we just started writing a blog. If you go into it, if you go up to the top right corner, so those old posts are still there. If you can find them, it's quite an interesting story. But then after that, I just thought, I want to keep this alive, and started writing every week. I write one, and it's usually a topic which I mean, sports physiology and training, there's so much out there, right? I mean, it's not
Mhm.
surprising ChatGPT has trouble giving you good advice because the average of all the advice out there doesn't amount to, or there's too much span, right? So it was kind of pulling apart topics which I found confusing and trying to tell them in a way which I hope makes sense to people, try and simplify it, break it down, hit the patterns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. There is a lot out there, hell of a lot out there, and almost can turn you off, like reading. But having, your articles are very easy to read. So yeah, I would urge people to check them out. And that reminds me, yeah, I met you and your son in Hydra, didn't I? A couple,
Yeah.
2 years. Yeah,
Yeah, so you probably met my youngest. So I broke the first one. So
right.
I'm onto the youngest now. So yeah, the first story is kind of cool. So Max is my oldest. He's 26 now.
Right.
But when he was 19, I got into that as I think most swimrunners do. We get the Ertler bug at some point, the dream. We see a few people perhaps in our network that have done it and think, well, if they can do it, maybe I can. Um, but it's getting qualification and doing all the races and stuff. It's a big commitment. And I thought, if I'm going to do this, um, the my wife probably won't complain so much if I'm doing it kind of with somebody in the family. So I sent a note to Max, and it was one of these wonderful Ertler inspirational videos that they have, right? Like the
Yeah.
sun coming up and the music and stuff. And he was 19, so he doesn't actually look at any details or read anything. Um, so he just saw this really cool thing, and I just said, like, how about a year? You can almost pretend to be a pro athlete. I'll pay for everything. We just go around Europe racing and qualify for this race. But he didn't realize how long it was.
Right.
So the first qualification was Utah 2019. It was that year. It was like 6 degrees in the water,
Mm,
and he'd never swum outside, and he'd never run more than 10K.
right.
And we're doing
Oh.
this 40 plus K race in
Mm,
crazy conditions. But he got through it, and then it got better and better, and he got faster and faster.
okay. Cool. And it's often the youngsters running gets faster, and how was the swimming getting back better as well?
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't know why or how, but literally, he was studying at in southern Sweden at the time, and I just sent him a pair of the biggest paddles I could find, and and a big pull boy, and said, like, do this, send him some videos or whatever, and he became very good very fast, which isn't very common. But I think if you took away his paddles and his pull boy, he'd probably sink. But paddle pull boy is as fast as, he's a really good
Right.
swim run swimmer. But whether that's just luck or timing, or I don't know.
Mhm.
I mean, he was athletic coming into it. He was like into CrossFit and all the rest of it, so big and strong. But he
Okay.
picked up the paddle, the swim run swimming pretty quickly, but he didn't try anything else. It was just paddles and pull boy. I mean, he's a pure swim run prodigy. He's like,
Yeah. 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 And does he? Has he? So he's taking a break from swim run now, is he?
well, what happened? That's kind of the sad side of the story. Like, we qualified 2020, and then it got cancelled because of COVID.
Mhm.
And that's when that happened. We did one of Nico's, so Envol's 2-day Tiller course, because I wanted to get it in just to try the course. That's when I met Envol. We can talk about
Right.
that,
Right.
but
Yeah.
so we qualified 2020, and then it got cancelled, and so we were rolled over to 2021, and we did Utah, which would move to the summer in
Mhm.
2021, and on that race he hurt his knee. It's just crazy. I mean, nothing, just running, and just no fall, no nothing, but hurt his knee, didn't recover. So he didn't recover for the race. So I had to do it with another friend from the club. So Max never got to do it, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, it's still time. Still time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's coming to Rockman, not to the big course, but him and a friend are coming to Rockman in the summer. So still getting him to keep his toe in the water.
Well, that's good. That is good. Okay. So that's, and then you met Envol, and Tom is now a coach, one of the leading coaches with Envol over in Sweden. And yeah, you met Nico, and he's moved to France now, hasn't he? But
Yeah, yeah, he's living in the French Pyrenees. Looks his kind of mountain top hut. It looks nice down there.
yeah. Yeah. So how? I mean, some people won't have heard Nicholas. We've had Nico on a good few, well, sometime last year on the pod. I know a lot of people know Envol, but there'll be quite a few that haven't heard of Envol coaching. Just give us a little summary there.
Yeah, so Nico started Envol, and it's kind of grown quite, I guess, with the sport, right?
Mm,
But I can tell you when I met them, because I'd seen them at the races. I mean, we were doing Malta and Thousand Lakes in Germany, so there's these qualification races, and I'd always seen all these blue Envol, often on the podium, right? So I
mm,
just kind of almost assumed that it was, the sharp end of the sport. You know, not for people like me, right? But how wrong I was. I mean, it's a wonderfully inclusive community, which has everything from kind of full-on beginners, people that are just really in it for the kind of vibe and the community, to world champions, and somehow Nico makes everybody welcome, and offers services and products, and coaching and advice, and community for all those aspects of the community. So and there's kind of pockets. We have, Nico would tell you, like all over the world, 20 plus countries, right? But
mm,
obviously, France is, Sweden, the US is growing.
mhm.
We'd like the UK to grow more. So if this is, if we've got a lot of UK based swim runners listening in, check us out. You'll find us if you just Google Envol on the. You'll find the coaching services, and the basic membership is really a community. You get some training plans through Training Peaks, but it's much more about the community. And it's not, it's quite a low price to enter that, and then the coaching services go up to like special races, Raceline Ready. We have
Yeah,
to kind of one-on-one if you really have special needs or special races, and we'll
yeah,
coach mainly swim run, but also open water swimming. I've done the Ultra Swim 33.3. You had Mark Turner on.
yeah.
I've done two of those races. I'll do my third in the summer, and two Envol members, actually. They were the first place women's non-wetsuit and women's wetsuit.
Oh
So
wow.
so so swim runners can swim too.
Oh yes, especially the ladies. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that was
Brilliant.
so that was cool to see that, and so we dabble in open water, ultra running, and obviously the base swim run, but adventures, I'd say. I mean, not
Yeah.
the probably not going to get into middle distance running,
Hmm. Yeah.
but anything to do with adventure, we'll do.
Yeah, no, it is the Envol coaching package. What they offer is very comprehensive and probably unique in the swim run world. There's obviously hundreds of triathlon coaches and running coaches, but yeah, swim run. There's really, I mean, I believe there's a couple in the US now, but
Yeah,
Envol are definitely the ones doing it and groundbreaking. Really, what Nico's done. So yeah, and I know people have used like David Molinario used the Rockman training plan,
yep.
and he absolutely loved it, and it worked for him 100%. When he first looked at it, he thought, I can't do this weekly, but and he did it, and look at, I mean, he won't mind me saying he's 52. Well, he was last year. He's probably 53 this year. Well, that would make sense. And he was an outstanding British athlete in
Yeah.
swim run.
Yeah. Well, I've gone up to 55 this year, so I'm glad I'm not in the same age group anymore.
Yeah. Oh, good stuff. So, okay, on that point with the US, obviously Ertl have gone over there and had more races introduced, which is great for the sport and the growth. I mentioned to Max Anderson a few years, well, last year actually, uh, a Ryder Cup style idea, US v Europe, which is getting maybe a bit political now, but
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Be careful what you wish
yeah.
for.
Or Marcus Barton v Nicholas Ramirez in a one on one.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, you could do it in. I mean, like the X Super Sprint format was super cool to watch, you could even do it in a kind of like knockout
Yeah,
format on the short course, right? You don't have to go for the big stuff. Yeah, it'd be cool.
yeah. One day. But okay, so and what have you got? I think you're doing the World Championship and Rockman this year. You're doing it with the same partner.
No, I got far too much on. I mean, last year I had a bit of a project. I did, I don't know, 8, 9 different swim runs, but every one with a different partner. And the partners range from kind of just starting out swim running to, Ertler veterans, and just to get that experience and that kind of different vibe on every race. And I do like racing with people. I think it gives an extra dimension, and just having that spectrum of people. So a bit similar. I mean, it was a guy that I swim with in this Bromma Swim Club. He, big dream to do Ertler, got a lot of points, and asked me whether I'd do it with him, and I couldn't really say no, could I? So,
No.
so yeah, so I'm doing that with a guy called Daniel Cannell. But I mean, yeah, I'm Valras. I'll be down at the Nikos Envol race in France on the 7th of June with Rosie. Then I've got a 10K swim race back in Sweden. Then we've got Rockman in the start of July again with Rosie. So a couple of races with Rosie. Then in Wales, I'm doing with an Irish girl that's coming in from Dublin.
Cool.
So that's the Wales swim run on the 26th of July. There's a ferry over from Ireland to
Fishguard.
to that bit of the coast.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of that was interesting. And a beautiful place. Loved it last year.
Yeah.
Then I got another swim race. Then we got the Grinda swim run. Then we got Erteleur. Then I've got the ultra swim in Greece, 33K. Then Hydra, which is always a highlight to the end of the season. Yeah. And then I'll top it all off with trying to do a personal best in Valencia Marathon on the 7th of December.
Wow. That's a full year of activity for sure. Yeah. A good mix as well. Okay. So you did the Wales swim run last year?
Yeah.
Good. How did it go?
It was good. I think you had Matthew on, right? And he talked about the podium being the first men's team were the 4th team in. No, 5th team in even. I think we were third mixed. So podium, 3rd mixed. Brilliant. But I think after us was the best ladies and then the best men. So it was the mixed teams that were rocking in Wales. But that coastal path, and we had good weather, and that always helps. But it was good. Yeah. I haven't done too many races in the UK. I did a Mad Hatter one, St Austell.
Yeah.
A couple of years back. So that Cornish coast, and then this one in Pembroke, which again, I mean, I probably upset people, but to me at least, they're quite similar coasts. But I like that.
Yeah.
It was this kind of coastal path and the big sea swims. I obviously like swimming, so Matthew's format of these kind of big 1 kilometer swim. You start with a 1 kilometer swim, bang. We actually came out of the water first, so that was good. And then so you do a series of these 1K swims, and then right at the end, as he talked about, you have this 2K swim or 2.1. So even if you're a few places behind some of the most speedy runners, you got a chance. So it's an interesting format, and big percentage of swimming, which is a bit of an equalizer. So I like the format.
Yeah, no, that 2.1K swim towards the end, changes everything, I think, with the to and fro, and then not too long a run after it to finish.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's what, a 2K run afterwards, so you can smell the tape, right? So you can go hard. So it's good.
Yeah, good stuff. So how did you find? Yeah, obviously you're in Sweden there with you at the club. I'm guessing you've got all the gear and all your club members in the pool there, and you're kind of at the front edge. How did you find the on the start line, the Brits at the Wales swim run? What was your feeling with where we're up to in the UK with the gear?
Well, it was. I really enjoyed it. Right, there was quite a lot of first timers there, right, which I think in a Swedish race now you're probably not going to get. I mean, there's always a few, right, coming in, but But in terms of percentage, I think there was, when Matthew asked how many are first timers, a third of the room put their hand up. So that's interesting, right? And then you obviously haven't had the kind of, a bit like running now. Everybody's into their kind of carbon shoes, and that's the discussion. And if you listen to the Americans talk about their podcasts on carbon fiber paddles, but the UK scene seemed much more like, I don't know, 10 years ago in Sweden, when it was just more of an adventure. People turned up with what they had, and just, so people were there with tiny little kind of the pool boys that 10-year-old kids use in the pool, and no paddles, because I haven't used paddles before. I mean, you just wouldn't get that kind of discussion in a Swedish race these days. But the upside of that is it's just, people are there for the adventure. People are there just to give it a go, right? It's not about the gear, and it's not about exactly time and everything else. It's just much more about getting out there and enjoying the scenery and having an adventure with a friend. And so I kind of bit of nostalgic. Took me back a few years to when my first race, 2011, right? I mean, we hadn't, things like swimrun wetsuits weren't invented back then. So we were using camelbacks for hydration, which aren't great for dragging the water, right? And it was very much trying things out for the first time.
For sure.
And you got a bit of that vibe. I mean, obviously there are UK swim runners with all the kit and everything else, but it was a nice mix.
Yeah, definitely. And you touched on the running there with the carbon shoes, etc. And you've mentioned the barefoot, movement, if you like. 2010. Where are you at with that now yourself?
I'm still, I'd say, on a philosophical perspective, still very minimalist. So I'll use as minimal as I need for what I'm doing, right? And I'd say running Valencia in 2:55, I'll need carbon shoes, right? So I'm not such a purist that I won't bend the rules every now and then. But if I'm running trail, soft, perhaps not too long, I'll go for the most minimal shoe I can get away with. I use the Hydra Escape, the Vivo shoes quite a lot. But I also have some VJs, depending on the. So I've got some Innovates, a Brit. So got a few of those. I'm a bit of a shoe slut. I have far too many shoes, but tried some of the carbon fiber trail shoes. So the Adidas Agravix. It's got the name's far too long to. But they're a bit unstable, right, for technical trail, at least for me. So I dabble. I do like shoes, but I think my philosophy comes from almost like just stability, strength to build that. I mean, minimalist shoes are good. They're good for technique, for feeling, and I think that when we're running on trails, people say, "Oh, I need 10 millimeter stack or whatever it is." He said, "Well, really? I mean, when you're running on a trail, you could be plus minus 60 millimeters on every step because of the trail. I mean, your shoe has almost no, whether it's I need a 4 millimeter stack height. Well, it doesn't make in an uneven trail. It's irrelevant. You could maybe argue other things on the road, right? But I think there's discussions about drop and everything else. And then if the trails, generally you're not having the same foot strike pattern every time. The trails are softer. I think people can get away with a lot less than they probably believe.
Yeah, I do like the shoe topic, I must admit, for swim.
I know it comes up regularly in your podcast, so I can see this one coming.
Well, it's simple, but it's complex because the general advice is wear what you're comfortable trail running in. And then the complexity comes. For example, the Otolo World Championships, where there's crazy slippiness, and then there's really good runnable tracks,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
really
yeah,
good, like
yeah,
almost like park run. And so you've got to make that balance. So I do
yeah,
love the compromise for those races, and a lot of swim run races. I think most have that kind of scale of technical and runnable. You know,
yeah,
so
for
it's
sure, for
yeah.
sure. I mean, as you talked about the last 2K of the whale swim run, it's pretty hard and fast, you know, trail, right? I mean, so I don't know, but you're right. I mean, like, and the Ertler question, you've already got me worried now. Like, what shall I use? Because yeah, it's
But
interesting.
I mean, the VJs have got to be they're a great shout, aren't they? For the even just for injury prevention on the first few little slippy
Yeah,
sections. Yeah.
exactly. But I mean, the ones I have are the IROC, and they're rather narrow at the front, right? So I'm not sure I want to use them for 10 hours plus. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what magic comes up. I mean, I use the Ultra Mont Blanc in Hydra
Okay.
because I know that like Sabi and a few others use the Mont Blanc, and they have the carbon version now, right? They got the Vibram Mega Grip Sole, which is pretty good.
Okay.
Um, so maybe that's an Ertler shoe. I
I
don't
mean,
know. I don't know.
yeah, mate. Every time I get someone on the podcast, they suggest another shoe that I've not tried,
Yeah.
which is brilliant.
Well,
Love it.
it's I mean, it's not the most stable trail shoe because anything with cushioning isn't going to be right, but it's not bad, and maybe you can get away with it. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. You see. Yeah. Yeah. Um, but yeah, it's and at the end of the day, it's probably for most swim runs, it's all to do with the training, isn't it? More and we often talk about the gear more than the training, or I do anyway, just because we love talking about it. But I mean, your newsletter and your blog, I mean, every week, I'm amazed. How do you like the content you've got there? Every week you put a new one out.
Well, it's just my it started really. Max, the son which I started with, he was doing a kind of blog newsletter on he's into biology and cellular fitness and nutrition and health, so more on that side of things. But he was pumping this out, and I just thought that's really admirable that he took, he had that commitment and that kind of discipline to do it. So it was a year. So doing this weekly one started kind of just before Christmas. So I've been doing it over a year now, and I guess we'll see when this topics dry up. But every time I kind of write one, something triggers like, oh, that I don't really understand that, or that's a bit complicated, or like for example, just this week, somebody asked me a question like, what's more important? Like, is VO2 max worth focusing on, and is it how important is it? And okay, that's an interesting topic. I mean, so so we'll see topics whether I can keep going one a week forever. I mean, who knows? But so far, it hasn't really been a problem. And in terms, I just commit to it, right? I mean, it's just like
Yeah.
having it in your training peaks. I mean, once you're committed to something, it's non-negotiable. You just do it.
Yeah, yeah. And that was your latest one, doing more with less,
Yeah,
and working out what the non-negotiables are, and then basing your training plan around that in terms of time.
exactly. I mean, we've just done like a series of 7 Wednesday evenings at an indoor track at the other side of Stockholm, so it takes 30 minutes to drive there. And I went to every 7 indoor sessions, and most people didn't, right? And with work, family, whatever. I mean, I don't know, but it's not easy. But I think if you can commit and carve out that kind of continuity in your training or anything you do, you're going to get good at it.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Consistency, and I know it comes across on your posts quite a bit for sure. And it's well, it's February now, so it's the clock's ticking on the year. We've still got plenty of time, of course, but
Yeah, I run a Wednesday, an open session on Wednesday. There's an island here called Sheshan, which looks over towards Drottningholm. If you know the palace, the king in Stockholm, the Drottningholm Palace, you have to come over.
Okay.
There's an island there. It's kind of 9K around it. So we do a swim run, in and out swim run. We've set up a kind of a natural course where we kind of just follow where it takes us. It's super nice, and we do that every Wednesday, and we start in, I don't know, May the 11th ish, that kind of time of year, and we go through till it gets too dark, which is end of September, and everybody can turn up, and we've had people coming and for the first time, and trying to breaststroke with shoes on, which is always fun. And we have the Swedish fika, the cake and coffee. So we have the fika in the car park afterwards, and everybody's welcome. So we've been running that for forever, but it's May we'll get out there, and we'll shorten the swims because it can still be very cold. It's a big lake, but that's kind of when we'll start outside. Yeah.
Okay. And it seems like in Stockholm, like how far would that be from like central Stockholm?
9, probably less, 8 kilometers.
Wow, it's amazing. Like
5 miles.
yeah, it's brilliant. As Stockholm, big city, and you've got these like Wolfware do regular similar kind of things every Wednesday. I think it's every Wednesday or every week.
Yeah, Brunswick and yeah.
Yeah, so it's just
Yeah, the Envol gang down in Sickla. So there's these pockets of swim runners in different bits of Stockholm.
yeah,
But I mean, you throw a stone, you hit a lake, right? There's water everywhere.
yeah, no, it's brilliant.
Which is fantastic. I mean, I come from Yorkshire, Bradford. I think if you drew a line, you couldn't get further from the sea if you tried. And there's not much open water available. Some of the big triathlon clubs in Leeds, right? I mean, I think they probably hire some reservoir, etc. But it's all very controlled. I mean, in Sweden, you can swim anywhere, you can walk, run, almost anywhere. There isn't this health and safety either. You're like, it's up to you.
yeah, which is old-fashioned and good.
But, I like it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's great spots in the UK for swimming, but they're generally not that near people, or not that near like a city, like let's say London or whatever. But I mean, there's a few, but that is a nice aspect for Stockholm for sure.
From here, I'm just looking out the window. I have within, I don't know, it's probably the Mälaren, which is this huge lake. I mean, it's 90 kilometers long, but I mean, and then because of that, it has lots of islands in it. So it's like a small sea. I mean, I took my wife to Windermere once, the Lake District, and she kind of laughed and goes, "Okay, is this your biggest lake?" I mean, yes. Shut up, it's nice.
Yeah.
She wasn't impressed. But from here, it's like 1 kilometer down to the beach, where we do kind of regular meetups, open water. There's a tiny little lake even closer, but which warms up faster, so we can get in there a bit earlier if you're into that. You have to compete with the tadpoles and other things. So I like the bigger lakes, but yeah, there's a lot of water, and it's really nice.
Yeah, cool. And did you say you're coming over to Wales this year?
Yeah, I'm gonna do Wales again.
Yeah.
I booked my flights.
Brilliant. And there'll be a few Envol guys, no doubt, in the Blue Nation.
Yeah. I mean, again, back to, I mean, I'm not sure exactly the number of swim runners, Envol members we have in the UK, but it's it's not in the 30s. It's I mean, so I mean, I don't know how many, and there's obviously competition with lots of other races. You run yours and everything else, so I don't know how many. I promote it. The lady I did it last year with, she can't make it this year, so I'm doing it with another Envol member, but this time from Ireland. So I'm trying to push it. It's a fantastic race. It's a fantastic place. I guess you have to like swimming. It's not very accessible if you're not. I won't say a good swimmer, because full boy paddles make a big difference. But it's a great place, and I really want to go back. Yeah, so I'm promoting it, and hopefully we'll have a good gang of Envolers, or hopefully new Envol. I mean, people that can join and
Yeah.
And if you, I can give you tips and coach you there. So there you go. It's an offer.
It's perfect. Yeah, it's perfect for new guys for sure. And it's I think Bill and Chrissy Langford are attempted. Yeah, but yeah, that would be if you're a first time swim runner and you want to, if there are people who want to get faster quicker for sure, and the best way to do that would be doing racing with uh, any race really, but getting a coach, getting a proper swim run coach, which is people are reluctant, they just want to do their own thing, but
Or just the community, right? I mean, being part of a community where people can share tips. I mean, we have like WhatsApp groups on equipment, WhatsApp groups on training, on the different races. So just that there's a lot of experience in the community. I don't think you have to think. So on a very kind of low entry point, you can get access to this bank of swimrun knowledge, which is pretty amazing. And then you have the local, because it's such a wide group of people. So what's this? If you're going to Colorado or Texas or Wales or Sweden, I mean, there's always somebody that probably knows the area or can meet up, and that's nice.
Yeah. And could find a new race partner.
Yeah.
That kind of aspect is really cool, actually. So there we go. So when's your next blog stroke newsletter post coming out, Tom? I'm going to look out for it.
It's coming out they come out on Sunday, Swedish time, at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Every week.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
I will link to it in the show notes.
Oh, thank you.
I'm guessing that's forwardmotionstockholm.blog, but slightly shorter.
Yeah. Exactly. Forward Motion Stockholm, which is if you can Google that, you'll find it anyway. But
cool.
Yeah, so I mean, that kind of started Genesis back in triathlon days. I was kind of age group triathlete, and like every year trying to do more with less.
Yes. Yeah.
Keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And as I said, this year I've moved up to the 55 age groupers. But I mean, we don't have age groups in swimrun, and I'm in two minds about that, because I mean, even last year, we came second in Utah sprint. Combined age well over 100 these days.
Yeah.
So you talked about David. I mean, swimming's a bit of a super weapon, right? You can still be competitive, and the technical trail equalizes a little bit, right? It's not so much. It's not just pure kind of aerobic fitness. It's something else, right? So we as oldies can still be relatively competitive. I mean, 3 podiums last year. So it's kind of fun to be up against everybody. But I guess if the sport got as big as triathlon, I guess age groups make sense then. Who knows? I'm in two minds about it. I'm not sure.
I agree. I think at the moment it's definitely best without age groups, and I think that'll last for a while. I suppose you could have an over 60s, because even especially the longer,
have wider groups, like because we have, I don't know, like some sports like have like over 35s than over 50s. It's kind of much bigger groups, right?
Yeah. Wider. And you look at the top ultra runners in the UK anyway, and they're all in their 40s, the top guys. And Kim Collison, who won the Spine race, I think he's like 47. He's late 40s anyway.
Wow.
And as you say, that trail, and the longer it is, it does. Yeah, you do have a slight equalization for sure. So yeah, there we go. But yeah, I can't see swimrun getting massive anytime soon.
No. And it's for good and bad, right? For gott och ont, you say in Swedish. I mean, I really, what drew me to swimrun from triathlon was the adventure and the community, and the ability to share that experience rather than just look at your what meter on your bike, right? I mean, it's something special. It's much more akin to, I don't know, surfing or something. It's more of a, it's a vibe. It's a feeling as much as it is an actual race, right? I mean, if people are out there thinking that swim run getting put off by the word race. I mean, these are events more than races, and maybe there's a podium, and that's kind of fun. But it's so much more about taking part, and there's usually a big social thing around it. People are traveling in. It's a bit like a surf festival or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's there's a good vibe to it,
Yeah.
which I really enjoy. And as I said, like after COVID hit, all the triathlon competitions got cancelled, and I never went back to the bike.
Fair enough. Good, good. Cool. Well, Tom, thank you very much for coming on, and I hope, where will I see you? I will see you at one race. I can't say yet which one, but
You're
yeah,
keeping it secret.
yeah. Well, yeah, I'm still finalising a few things, but yeah, I'm sure I'll see you in 2025.
Yeah. Well, cool. And I said, like, come down to Wales, the Wales swim run. Check it out. It's a really good one. And if you're into, especially the kind of northern, us up in Northern Europe, I mean, Hydra at the we talk weeks in Sweden, so week 44, whatever that is. Is it start of November, end of
Yeah,
October?
yeah, yeah.
Um, that is a wonderful week. I think it might coincide with your half term as well, so it's a good
Hmm.
it's a good break, and just kind of warm water and sun, and obviously nice Greek food and everything else, and
Yeah,
meeting up. It's a great kind of that is a very festival feeling, going down there and
yeah.
meeting up with other swim runners end of the year. That's
No, it
super
is.
nice.
It is really cool
And
for sure.
Hydra's an island relatively close to Athens, for those that don't know.
Yes. Yeah, it's a great one, yeah. I can't make Wales, the Wales swim run down in Pembrokeshire. I've got an event I'm organising in Abu Dhabi that weekend, which is just the way it goes. But
Yeah, we don't have enough calendar days, do we?
no,
Not warm ones anyway.
no, that's it. That is the problem. Cool. All right, Tom. Well, good luck with your training, and we'll look out for the blog next post coming Sunday.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks,
Bye
Mike.
now. Ta.
Bye bye.